Hey, welcome back to the Weight Control Medicine channel. I want to talk about
A well-seasoned perspective.
this is important. This goes into weight control, believe it or not. And to tell you the truth, this is kind of what we do in life. And I hope you can see the principles of this in your own life when I go over it. But I had one of these aha moments when I was listening to some smart people, and I'll give them the credit. But yeah, look at this quote. This was from Ratatouille, right? You know, when that food guy came in and he sat down and he's like, I want well-seasoned perspective. I'd like some fresh, clear, well-seasoned perspective, right? I don't know if any of you guys watched that movie or not, but it was great. Okay, so let's talk about that. So this whole thing about perception and perspective, some smart guy, and that smart guy being Andrew Bustamante, he was on and there's the link, or not the link, maybe we'll put the link in, but there's at least the citation below. He was on a podcast or a YouTube interview with Stephen Bartlett. Stephen Bartlett's a CEO over in Great Britain. He's also in Dragon's Den, which is equivalent to our show called Shark Tank. That's a Shark Tank over there. And he's one of the youngest guys out there. And he had Andrew Bustamante on there, who's used to be a Air Force officer. He left the Air Force and joined the CIA. He is an Air Force Academy graduate. But Bustamante did a really good job, and Andrew Bustamante did a very good job explaining perception and perspective from a CIA definition, but we also use this in medicine, and we also use it in problem solving and also in business. So think about this for a moment. Perception. Perception is what you see. It's your five senses. No one can dispute what you see or don't see. No one can dispute what you smell and you don't smell. That's just that is your perception, which can be tricked, right? And hence the word, he did not say this, I said this. That's why there's a word called misperception, because you can misperceive. He used the example of there's something dark in the corner, and you could perceive that to be a bunch of rats. You know, one of these mountains of rats, because maybe you grew up in that environment and you have a mound of rats over there. But when you actually go look at it again, it's just dirty socks, right? So that was a misperception because you're subject to your own personal experiences. So that's a good way to put it, right? And he had some other explanations. So, but what is perspective? So you want to gain perspective, right? And he actually said, I don't know if it's true, you know, that's what he said. He said in the CIA that they tell their spies that you ignore your feelings, basically ignore your perception, because that could be deceived. What you want to do is get data. You want data, you want objectivity, you want third-party information, right? And so this spoke so true about what we do in weight control, because how many times you catch yourself saying, oh, I'm eating too much. Really? Well, first of all, what's that definition of eating too much? That's a relative term. In other words, you need context, right? Or maybe you say, well, I don't overeat. I know I don't. Well, how do you know? We need to get data to figure that out. Oh, I do enough exercise. And so before obesity medicine became its own thing, right? Before it was officially created, right? I was a general internal medicine doctor, and I would give the most worthless advice to my patients during their annual. Hey, you know, after I did their annual, I see your height weight is a little bit off, and you know, I see that you have some unhealthy weight. So why don't you just eat a little less and exercise a little more? And that was completely the most worthless advice. And in the beginning, when I was trying to help people lose weight, they would come back and say, I do exercise. I go on a walk. Okay, I need data. So what if you go on a walk? How long? How far? Right? There's no objective way to say that person is actually exercising enough. So what we want to do is we want to seek data to confirm what our perception is. So let me give you an example. All right. So I like to use my MyFitnessPal a lot. So let me get that out. All right. So MyFitnessPal. Here's MyFitnessPal, and this is the weekly view that I often teach my patients. So you can see that this is red. Right? This is the net view. So that means exercise is subtracted out. So if a patient says, hey, I think I'm overeating, you want to confirm, are you truly overeating? And so in this case, you can see in the proper context, it's always about context, right? So if this person has this type of data collection and they're exercising, right? and they're inputting all their food appropriately, and the technology is working. In other words, the exercise is subtracted out. We have data integrity, and we see red, and in the weight loss phase, then yes, they have confirmed they are overeating and that we need to do something about it. We need to somehow help them get rid of that red, and they'll continue to lose weight. And you can see maybe they intervene when they can use one of the tools for overcarbing, and they can go on intermittent fast, use some high protein products, increase their appetite suppression. Now, let's say this person perceived that they're overeating, and they have great data integrity, and they're over here on the right side. But the reality is they are not overeating, they're undereating. Because let's say this person is a triathlete. Let's say they're getting ready for a marathon and they're doing like 7 to 10 miles of running a day. Well, guess what? They perceive themselves to be overeating, but they're actually not eating enough. And you can see that they're down 200 here and they're down about 600 there because of their huge amount of exercise, or either that the technology's off, right? And sometimes that's why you got to have somebody who knows what they're doing, understands how to interpret this data. So that's why you want to gather data. It's really hard in the beginning. I will say in the beginning, when you're in the weight loss phase, you're going to have different emotions, different perceptions. And so if you're going to just base your decision off that, say, well, I think I'm overeating, I feel like I'm overeating, and you just keep increasing your appetite suppression, or you're not being supervised appropriately, or you somehow decide that you're just going to do a ketogenic diet, you could actually be hurting yourself. You could be under eating, then you go eat a bunch of protein. Oh, you just made things worse, right? That's when you hurt yourself. That's when you have a bad experience. You blame the med, and it's actually not the med, it's because you're under eating, right? You want to gain perspective, and you want to get some sort of third party. You need another data point to confirm your perception. And that's the important part, because as you go through this weight journey, I always divide it into two phases: the weight loss and weight maintenance. If you're into weight loss, you can have huge fluctuations in your perception, in your emotions. Okay. And you want to confirm that with data. Now, after you get into weight maintenance, what I always tell people is most of my patients will stop tracking, because now you can start trusting your perception. Right. And there's some other objective data you could use to determine, are you eating enough carbohydrates? Are you not eating enough? Are you running out of carbohydrates? It's your exercise performance is what I usually tie it to, but that's a delayed data point. But when you're in the acute phase, when you're in the weight loss phase, you really want to gain perspective. You really want to have that data and confirm where you at, even if it's not perfect, but at least get 1 or 2 days in your calorie counting program and include the exercise. And a more advanced feature would be to look at the macro side of it to see how much carbohydrates you're actually bringing in, and you're not inadvertently doing a ketogenic diet. So, and that's one of the limitations of a calorie in, calorie out model, is if you are doing a keto, you may be bringing in a lot of calories, but if it's all protein and fats, you could still be running out of energy. Maybe I'll make a separate slide about that, or a separate video about that. I hope that helps. So, what you want to do, you want what Anton Ego wants at the end of the day when it comes to weight loss and weight control. You want perspective. You want to gain that third-party data, and you want to confirm what you're feeling with it. And that way you can do this safely. You can continue to have a positive experience as you drop the weight and you maintain that weight. You're like, man, do I feel great. And my hope for all my patients, I always tell them, is what I want you most 99% of the time as you go through this journey, I want you to feel not just good. I want you to be able to say, I actually feel great. My energy is better. I want to do things that I've never wanted to do or I haven't done in decades, like jump out of a plane, go parachuting, or something like that. I want to go on a hike. I've never wanted to go on a hike, but for some reason I want to go on a hike. Yeah, because you have a healthy body, right? Because you've done this the right way instead of being miserable. And I don't want you to be like the Walking Dead and you've lost all this weight. You're kind of maintain it by eating 500 calories. Maybe we'll pop in a zombie here from the Walking Dead at that point. That's what we don't want in obesity. Why? Because you can't maintain that. That's not you can't maintain it. It's unhealthy. You're missing work. We don't want that. We want you to be more productive. We want you to contribute to your family, your work, to your society, and be better off and help the community out. And you can only do that if you have good health. Okay, hope that helps, guys, on the difference between perception. Remember, there's misperception. There is no such thing as misperspective. Look it up. I actually Googled it, and you won't find there is no word misperspective. Or I guess we can just make it up, and it'll be there. Okay, maybe I should trademark it. All right, hit like and subscribe.